point of view, right, changing employee expectation, right, actually drive flexibility and purpose-driven work environment. When you look at the new stuff that's coming to work, right, we have the different type of tribes, the baby boomers, the Generation X, the millennium, the Gen Z. When you think about it, the Gen Z is the babies that grew up with the handphone in their hand. Okay, so the generation profile is quite different for each of this particular generation. And when you also look at it, right, an organization would have all these 4 different type of generation profile. But then you will have probably a pyramid type of generation profile with the baby boomers at the top, but starting to get lesser and lesser. And then the new generation all getting more, and they are being more outspoken and probably more inputting in the way the workplace will be. But I think one of the big event that happened in the last 3 years is COVID. Okay, COVID basically gave us a reassessment of our work-life balance. What is life about? What is the purpose of work? Okay, and they also requested flexibility of timing and also flexibility in where they work. And then a lot of the staff also now looks towards how to make impactful work in their life. It's not just working, but also how to make their work life more impactful. So for Fraser Property Vietnam, we address this in a few ways, the future of work. So internally, even for us, right, recently we had a kind of renovation to our HQ in Mei Ling Point. One of the things we decided right in front is to make sure that we only have open plans. So managers no longer have their own rooms. Everybody sits outside, even the CEOs, the deputy CEOs, the GMs, everybody sits out together. But one of the important things we included was to make sure we have a lot of collaboration spaces. The pantry becomes a very important space, a lot of breakout spaces, so that we make the conversation or even the organization more horizontal. That means it's very easy for you have an issue, right? You ask for a quick meeting, go to breakout areas, sit down and talk. Okay, because we still believe that it's important for face-to-face interaction. There is example that, some of the new staff who comes to work and is stuck in COVID for 3 years, they have been working from home, right, remote working, they don't know what's the culture of your organization. Because by meeting face-to-face, you talk, you share stories, you build the culture, you build the values. Okay, so that's very important. And then for us in our asset, like work in Q2, when we started designing the building, we make sure we included a few floors of double volume spaces that has a very good view towards Saigon River. So it allows the tenants to come in and create very interesting spaces for their office. Yeah, so that's unique to them and it's very good for their branding. And then even within the building, right from the start, we created a lot more collaboration spaces. We took out level 6 of the building. We created a kind of collab space, which we have offices that the tenant can actually rent it out for their collaboration, their board meetings, so that they actually can reduce some of the offices in their spaces on their tenanted space, so that they can also be able to create training spaces and not try to keep a big space in their building. And then we also have on level 6 an alfresco cafe area where we also see a lot of tenants who come there for their lunch. So they don't need a big pantry space, and we use that space also as an event area. And then even on our upper floor, we also have kind of space we call the den. It's an arcade space where people can go and play billiard, table tennis, and a space to kind of chill out. Okay, so for us, it is important to be able to create this type of regular tenant engagement and social events. So we create organized Christmas, TED, even yoga classes for our tenants, so that we create a type of stickiness and also to encourage and create a space. We don't just say it's an office space, but we want to create a community within the building so that we can address all these new changes that comes about.
Hi everyone, my name is Hoang. First and foremost, before I answer my question, I just want to kindly reminder that everyone, if you guys are talking with each other, I suggest you guys should go outside because just being mindful of the people around you and be respectful to the speaker and the organization. Because I sit on the third row and I still hear people from the back talking. So if you guys want to talk on personal terms, please step outside so other people can focus. Go back to my question. The trend in co-working space, I think after COVID, there's a bump in, people willing to come back to the office. However, the budget and the investment is not there because their company have been frozen or the revenue have been down for more than 2 years. So in terms of that, the flexibility in terms of offering or special package or, like anything that create a flexible term for your tenant to come back, very important. The past 2 years been a roller coaster ride because some of the industry that coming to Vietnam is never been there before. So what I see is that new industry like AI, entertainment, some of very creative like artist management or some, even sometimes like I don't even know what they do. I just know that it's really cool, and I don't even know what it is called. So that's mean that Vietnam is kind of the country that attracting more and more company to coming here, and it's retaining people to having their office open here, to hiring new talent. And from the office background, you can see that the labor force of Vietnam is ranging from around mid-20 to maybe mid-30 to 40 years old, which is very young compared to other market around Asia, which make Vietnam even more attractive in terms of company coming here and attract more talent. And in terms of that, the tech industry in Vietnam, especially in terms of education training for engineering, software engineering, right now you can see the trend that even the Vietnam labor is being exported outside of Vietnam, meaning that, like it's in terms of training and retaining or developing talent of the education system is actually quite improving, I would say. So that you can see a lot of company coming here and want to be here and want to start a long term here. So I hope in the next 5 to 10 years, we continue to keep that growing.
Now, on this topic, I'm curious that whether you see is more applicable for the startups and the small and medium enterprise, or is there any adoption from the larger MNCs and enterprises?
I think at this state, the cost of setting up in Vietnam is quite also affordable for some company. However, there's still regulation and restriction on investment coming in and out of the country. That's the only disadvantage of the country, which I think that the regulation also try to solve that problems. But in terms of like cost, open an office, having the flexibility to move around, and the supply and demand in Vietnam is still quite good, especially not just in Ho Chi Minh City. A lot of company, they also like, to be in Da Nang or to be in Cần Thơ. And then there's a big government push in the Mekong Delta country, where I also involved in some project with the government to open new tech hub or tech park, or thing that is more affordable and cheaper in even lower Mekong Delta of Vietnam.
Okay, co-living is definitely not for me. I think all of this thing is all about costs and benefits and also risks. Co-living is not new. Think back to your university days, dormitory. It's something that comes out of needs, right? It's just that probably now we've gone from the basics to the more fancy type of co-living. It is very easy to execute for people transitioning from family to independence. So it is good, but I think the appeal is to a certain age group. Now, while we come out of university, we co-live at the dormitory stage, you move on to independence, you move into married life, and then you know what? As we are getting older, we're going back to co-living in the nursery homes, So it's actually how you look at it. It's nothing new, except that there are a variety of offers now that you can think about. And it is particularly easy for people who have very little disposable income outside of what their regular spend. And also it's similar to business, is lower capex versus opex. And if you can give up on certain things to get the independence, I think is a really, really good choice. But I think it's always going to be appealing to a group of people at different stage of life, and is here to stay. How fancy will it become? I don't know, because like if a co-living space being provided is getting too fancy, then these people probably can afford it on their own and then buy a little bit more privacy. So I think in Vietnam, the interesting thing is that it's not like in the Western world, parents will kick you out when you're 18. So you probably will have a much longer time of communal living already. So there's another kind of co-living, all right? So they may consider living with the parents is already co-living. It's just that when you move out, you have a little bit more freedom in the new co-living.
First of all, I think it's waste of time if we have a if it's debate about the definition. So I think that, but this is some fact. Living together is not new with the human being. Belong back to the history of Vietnam in specific and Asian country in more general. We all living in a small village. We all living together. In the past, people living, people talk about the neighborhood. When the people in the village, they know each other. So it's all about the society. It's about the community. It's about people. People want a sense of belonging. It's not just about how convenient, how facilitated, how fancy the living is. Because if just is about the facility, we see a lot of people now choosing the apartment. But there's some fact, there's some research. The more urbanization, the more density of the city living, the more loneliness the people being. So at some point, I think the core value proposition of living together is to offer you the sense of belonging, the sense of the community. So it's all about the main idea about the co-living. Cost effectiveness in some, yes, in some way. For example, if you rent a place, apartment in Vinhome, 2 bedroom, or for 1,000 USD, so you have to pay 500 USD. You can go outside. You can choose phòng trọ, room for rent with 7 million, which is 300 USD. Yes, it's a cost saving, but sometimes it also is more expensive. For example, if you go to the village, you have to pay around 600 or 700 for one apartment, smaller but more beautiful, more deserved, have more sense of belonging. So it's I peer so different of people, they value different of value proposition. So co-living maybe it's not for everyone. I think it's still a lot of people just prefer to saving the money for the first house. But some people, and now I think that the trend is coming, especially for young generation, where we talk about generation that they less value the ownership and they value the experience. We talk about young generation who is willing to spend for the experience. Thanks to Grab, thanks to Netflix, now people can have everything, but they don't need to own anything. They're familiar with the sharing economy. Those people is young generation. Those people is lifting the behavior changing in the society. And those people is people after the pandemic life, we all know, people question about what is the purpose in life. What is the really, and people have to spend a lot of time in home because now work from home, hybrid working, and people home is now not just a place for people have a sleeping. It also the place for people working, people connecting, make friends at home, and enjoy the happiness in life at home. So in net, my assumption here is it's not about the definition. It's about really what is the value proposition or what is the value of the model we want to bring in and different of segment, different of people, they value different things. So I think that, yes, agree that it's not a new people are still living together for beginning in a day of the humankind. And there was a time people with the pressure in life, people forget about the sense of belonging. After the pandemic, after the lockdown, now it's it's remind us it's the beautiful of being a part of the community. And I think this is the advantage for the model for the co-living.
And I see that Thuỳ would like to add some more inputs for this.
Just to give input on the foreign investment side, to support the co-living model, is that this year there's about, you know, 50 to 100% of increase in education. So foreigner universities coming into Vietnam. As you see, like even me working with the Australian government, I can see that this year there's about 4 extra more university from Australia already come into Vietnam and setting up their school here, or even part of the school here to bring the student outside. And a lot of that is tailored to the, not just the student in the city, but the student is from different province that come to the city to work and live. And the, you know, like the GDP per capita of Vietnam is quite increasing, and it still continue to grow in the next 10 years. And the co-living model is the perfect place for the parents to spend money for their kid, because, you know, they want their kid to have the good condition of living, and the dormitory is not built yet. And so it's kind of the model is supporting the economy and is bringing more students from different province and from the other countryside to the city to work and live and feel like, you know, they can make friends and they can you know, adapt with the new culture and the new environment. So I think that also have a big push in the co-living. And on top of that, with the office, if there's new company coming here, there's new foreigner coming here. And with the foreigner, they can afford this kind of luxury living lifestyle. And so that's why you see, you know, a lot of people start moving away from the traditional apartment and going to the co-living, also supporting his business.
No, the percentage of student living in us is very small, I can say, because we will not build for the student. And actually, in our business, long-term living, they just conduct about 20 or 30% of the total revenue of the company. I think it's more about, it's not just about the living, but yeah, for sure, I think that agree with Thuỳ that there was a big push from the demanding in a society where you see the increasing of the income. Of course, increasing of the income, increasing of demand of have better life, living standard. So people willing to pay for some things that more experience to them, right? And there was another fact that Vietnam is, I consider, is one of the most expensive housing market in the world, comparing the house price with the income of the people. There was a research said that it's need normally people adult in the young generation, they need 30 years of income to buy a house or normal apartment. It means 30 years of income, you just breathe the air, drinking the water, and spend nothing. And after 30 years, maybe the house price already not there. Of course, they're increasing. So owning a house become very luxury and more become luxury to the young generation. And sometimes it becomes unaffordable. It means that in the future, it is the reason why also believe of us when we starting this business here. In the future, especially some society in Vietnam, from the most of the population, renting a house is not a choice. It is inevitable. So you have the huge demand. We talk about that we are open up 1,000 of room. Seems 1,000 is very big, but don't forget that every year we have 300,000 of people moving in Ho Chi Minh City need a living solution. Every year we just build a few dozen of new apartment, but demanding in the market is they can collect a dozen of million. So the gap between the demanding and the supply is still huge. So those is the opportunity for the business who can answer the question. So what is the living solution for the I think not just Vietnam, for the whole urbanization problem in all the world.
I think for us, it'll be probably difficult for us to comment on co-working space. But for Fraser Property, right, is then Fraser Property Vietnam is then how do we react to this challenge of co-working space that's coming up when we have the traditional type of office spaces for rental. For us, I think the future of work is also about advancing real estate as service. Okay, it's no longer just about building an office, the hardware, but also importantly, the software. The service part plays a critical and important part. Okay, so we also notice a lot of this macro trend that shows the need for flexible and agility to meet evolving demand. So for us at Fraser Property, we also believe in the model flex and core. Okay, so flex is luckily we have some co-working space as our tenants. So we partner with them. When their co-working space grow up to a certain size, right, and they no longer can afford the co-working space, we provide them our traditional floors for them to come up and stay with us. Or when we see some of our traditional tenants, right, all of a sudden they need some expansion, temporary expansion sometimes, then we have a relationship with our co-working space, right, to get a better subsidies for them to go down and expand. So we create a more symbiotic relationship in the sense working with co-working spaces. But I think when we address the issues of competitive advantage, one of the key idea is we need to be continuously innovating and enhancing our assets. So for Fraser Property, we did asset enhancement initiative for our mailing point in 2020. Okay, so we were able to achieve BCA Green Mark Platinum, and this is also first for existing operating building. So when we actually had tenant inside, we actually were doing the renovation for the building, changing the lift one by one, reconstituting the ground floor retail services, also creating double volume voids and spaces. So I think for us, it's also important, like in our work at Q2, we also achieve LEED Gold certification. This is also to showcase our commitment to creating sustainable spaces. And then for us, we introduce green lease and to partner our like-minded tenants to support feed out and to create an environmentally friendly space. And then for us, what is very important in terms of service is the tenant experience. Okay, tenants are our customers. Yeah, so we have an in-house tenant experience team in-house that's dedicated to dealing with the needs and wants of our tenant. Okay, and to address it to the highest level of services. I think we want to create an environment where the tenant feels valued and supported. And that is also how we create that stickiness to make sure the tenant stays with us and make sure that they don't want to move out of our facilities. So having that dedicated tenant experience team is critical in that sense, providing the extra service. Yeah.
I think Fraser is a very big corporate, so there's not, I mean, you guys have your own model, but I think for mine is quite still on a small side. So I just have 3F, right? So flexibility is what everyone is talking, and you've been talking about that, meaning that people can contract and people can expand. And traditional tenant can expand, or the co-working tenant can expand into the traditional space, or vice versa. So that's the flexibility of, being a co-working space. You need to be open-minded and be empathy in the time of hardship, especially, for example, beginning of this year, a lot of company having a little bit struggle from, the economic downturn and things like that. So some of our tenants also contracted, and we need to be flexible and we cannot give them a hard time, right? So that's flexibility. The second thing is the functional. So what I mean about functional is the office, my office, two of my new co-working also have a Lotus, but having accreditation doesn't mean anything. The office needs to be functional. For example, that if you sit on a chair and it's not comfortable for you to sit at 8 hours a day, that's not functional. If you have, like beautiful material, but the table is like creaking or is something is not functional, the room need to be, utilized in many different ways, especially in a co-working. So for example, your event space need to be flexible in terms of doing event, what type of event you need to do. So that's functional. So from, having one and up to now we have the third one, which is the building in Taoyuan, where I would say that we have the most flexible space that we can have so that people can use it and be functional about the space. It can be fun, it can be, it can be corporate, it can be this. So that's functionality of the space. And the last thing I would say is that it's just my own personal, me and Greg have our own personal core value, which is fun. So a lot of the people now, we were saying like how the labor force is ranging from 25, up to 35, 40. And right now they care a lot about the community, the, like the charity, the art, the having fun, not just, going to the corporate event, networking, like there's fun events. So we do a lot of fun things in the space. And actually one of the most common things that people take when they want to come to our space is our community event. And by doing the community event, well, we make no money. We sometimes don't make money. It costs us money, but we make it fun so that, people can have different choice. They can go to the healthy, like yoga. They can go to like a movie night. They can go to things that is like meaningful to them, or they can go to all the tech event or pitching competition that we do, we sponsor. So the fun is that you come to the office, it's not just to work. Sometimes you can get out of your office to attend some event that we organize in the space or we sponsor in the space that is beneficial for them or is relaxing for them or anything that make it fun, right? So I think for us, the fun part is very big because about 60 to 70% of our member value that community aspect of it. So we really thrive to make that, as diverse and as much, variety as possible.
Honestly speaking, Avison Young is a real estate consultant. So a lot of times we'll work with our clients on a solution, which we will work with developers like Fraser and service provider like Sentry to look for what is the best match strategy, short term and long term. Okay. And now the old models is that we go to work, we go to an office, that there is no options to that. All right. And then from there, we suddenly have COVID, and there's something that's work from home that is actually very difficult for some people. For example, it is communal living. In Vietnam, you have husband and wife, a two-income family. You have two kids who need to go to school. So suddenly there are 4 person at home that needs to get online. And then you have grandma and grandpa walking at the back of the Zoom course, So this co-working space for our clients are an additional layer of consideration, because now that it doesn't have to be one way or the other, they could have a mix. And then there are different functions. Some people will need to collaborate and work together, and they must be in the office. And there are other people that actually on the road most of the time, and then they could possibly provide a little bit of additional space so that this professional can meet the clients, doesn't have to go from District 1 to District 7 to District 9, because there are chains that you can utilize. So we're actually encouraging our clients to look at a mix and match. And this is very beneficial to the clients because we can trial and error. Because there are solutions that we can buy into, we can see if it achieves the intended results. Does it retain the togetherness as a company? Does it follow the culture of the company, or is it pointing out a different culture in which they're having fun at this space, while it is completely nothing to do with the company? It could be a pro or a con. And the good thing about co-working space is if our clients are in a jam, they want to expand, then they can go into it right away, set up a section there, and we can think about the rest of it a little bit later. Or if they are in a bad downturn of the economy, they don't know if they want to negotiate their lease to continue because it's a 3,000 square meter space. Is a lot to commit to. So we also have helped clients that disperse it into 4 co-working space and then think about what's next. Now, during that time, they may have very new thinking and revelations that actually we don't need to be in the same office, in which we always think in the past that we must be in the same office. Even 2 floors of the office cannot be imagined, all right? So I think is the opportunity to present to different companies to think about what they can do. With startup, first thing is, of course, I can start up right away, but you also don't know how fast you're going to grow. So you can go from 2 desks to 10 to 20, and then move into a space, and then suddenly that you may need to downsize again, and then go back to the co-working space. The important thing is, while we have to deal with the problems, which is part of what we think is an operation problem, the business can continue one way or the other. So I think the important thing is look at your needs, be willing to consider different models rather than what you have. Don't do what everybody else is doing because you actually don't know the pain and the gain of the others until you try it out yourself.